Maya stood at the kitchen counter, watching the coffee drip in slow, rhythmic spurts. Her husband, Arjun, sat at the dining table across from her, eyes glued to his phone screen. The silence between them wasn't uncomfortable, it had simply become routine. Familiar. Functional. "Your shirt's on the bed," she said, placing a mug in front of him. "Thanks," Arjun replied, without looking up. A moment later, he was typing again, probably answering emails before the day even began. Maya took her own cup and leaned against the counter, sipping slowly. She wasn't angry, not even sad anymore. The spark they once had, years ago, had dwindled into flickers of polite gestures and shared grocery lists. Arjun wasn't cruel or unkind. He was just absent. Always present, yet never really with her. She arrived at the office 15 minutes early, as always. The building hummed with fluorescent energy, the click of heels and soft chatter echoing through the corridors. Maya found small comfort in her routines. Her desk, neatly organized. Her calendar, color-coded. Her work, efficient and invisible. "Good morning, Maya," came a voice behind her, smooth, deliberate. She turned to find Mr. Raghav Sharma, her boss, standing by her desk. He wore confidence like a tailored suit. Everything about him was measured, yet relaxed. His presence had always carried a quiet authority, the kind that made you want to stand straighter. "Good morning, sir." He gave a half-smile, eyes lingering a second longer than necessary. "Could I see you in my office before lunch?" "Of course." He nodded once, then walked off, leaving behind a trace of expensive cologne and the unmistakable air of importance. A few desks away, Priya, her colleague and closest friend at work, raised an eyebrow. "He's been calling you in a lot lately." "It's just project work," Maya replied, avoiding eye contact. Priya smirked. "If you say so. But just remember, men like him don't give attention without intention." Maya waved her off, but the comment stayed with her. She told herself it was ridiculous. Mr. Sharma was respectful, professional, but still, a part of her, one she'd tried to ignore, felt noticed in a way she hadn't in years. By midday, Maya stood outside his office, heart ticking a little faster than normal. She knocked softly. "Come in." Inside, Mr. Sharma gestured to the seat across from his desk. The blinds were drawn. A warm lamp cast a golden hue across the room, giving it a strange intimacy. "I've been reviewing your work on the quarterly budget analysis," he said, folding his hands. "Impressive as always." "Thank you." "I have a sensitive proposal I'd like your input on," he said, choosing his words carefully. "Something I'd prefer to discuss away from the usual distractions." Maya blinked. "You mean outside the office?" "Yes. Discretion is important. There's a lounge at the Meridian. Quiet, comfortable. We could talk freely there. Just business, of course." She didn't answer immediately. The word hotel floated heavily in the air. Seeing her hesitation, he leaned back slightly. "Don't feel pressured. If you're not comfortable—" "No," she interrupted a little too quickly. "I'm just surprised." He nodded slowly. "Think about it. We could meet tomorrow evening. Around 7. Maya gave a small nod before standing. "I'll let you know." Back at her desk, her hands trembled slightly. Priya noticed. "What happened?" "Nothing," Maya said. But her voice was off. That night, home felt hollow. Arjun was in the bedroom, watching a video on his tablet. Maya sat at the edge of the bed, her phone in hand, the message window open. She typed, deleted, then typed again. "Tomorrow works. 7 p.m. She stared at it, thumb hovering. Then she pressed send. Arjun looked up briefly. "You're okay? You seem quiet." "I'm fine," she said, forcing a smile. "Just tired." He nodded and returned to his screen. Later, lying beside him in the dark, Maya stared at the ceiling. Her heart beat a strange rhythm. She wasn't sure if it was dread or anticipation. Maybe both. Maya stood in front of her wardrobe, fingers grazing over silk, cotton, and polyester blends. She wasn't dressing for a date. That's what she kept telling herself. This was a business meeting. Unusual, maybe, but not unprecedented. Still, she settled on a deep navy blouse, modest yet elegant, paired with tailored black pants. Something that said professional, even if her reflection whispered something else. The ride to the Meridian was quiet. Her driver wove through evening traffic while Maya stared out the window, barely blinking. She had rehearsed reasons to cancel. Had typed and deleted the message 3 times. But the pull was stronger. Curiosity? Loneliness? She wasn't sure. The hotel rose like a monolith of polished glass and quiet secrets. Inside, warm lighting, soft jazz, and murmured conversations wrapped the lobby in luxury. She spotted Mr. Sharma near the lounge entrance, scanning the crowd. His eyes found hers immediately. "Maya," he said, smiling. "You came." "I said I would." He gestured toward a corner booth. It was dimly lit, offering just enough privacy without feeling hidden. A waiter appeared like clockwork, placing a single glass of wine before her. "I ordered for you. Hope that's okay." She nodded, heart tapping an uneven beat. "It's fine." They started with business. He laid out a new proposal, a branch expansion plan, confidential for now. He spoke in crisp terms, his tone measured. But something about the way he looked at her made it impossible to separate the personal from the professional. "You've been underutilized," he said after a pause. "Your insight, your instincts, they deserve more recognition." Maya laughed softly. "You mean more spreadsheets?" "I mean more responsibility. More leadership. You're capable of so much more than admin support." The compliment landed harder than it should have. She wasn't used to being seen like that, not at work, not at home. "I don't know," she said, lowering her eyes to the rim of her glass. "Sometimes I feel like I've faded, like I'm living someone else's life." He leaned forward slightly. "You haven't faded. You've just been dimmed. There's a difference." She looked up, startled by the intimacy of his words. There was a silence, neither awkward nor casual. Just dense. Present. "I never meant for this to be inappropriate," he said. "If I've crossed a line—" "You haven't," she interrupted quickly. His hand was on the table, resting near hers. He didn't move it. Neither did she. "You're married," he said softly. "I know." She didn't offer more, and he didn't ask. Time melted. One glass became 2. The conversation shifted from strategy to memories, dreams, quiet regrets. Maya found herself laughing, leaning in, revealing fragments of herself that had long been tucked away. "I used to paint," she said, surprising even herself. "Years ago." "You still can." "I don't even know who that person is anymore." "You do," he said. "You just stopped listening to her." The words sank into her like warm water. She didn't speak. He didn't either. A long pause stretched between them, comfortable and dangerous. Finally, he stood. "Would you join me upstairs? There's a private meeting room. We can go over the numbers, without distractions." Her heart fluttered. The offer was veiled, but the meaning was clear. She hesitated. "I should go." He didn't protest. Just nodded. Maya stood as well, clutching her bag tighter than necessary. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "No need," he said calmly. "You did nothing wrong." But as she turned to leave, he added quietly, "Neither did I." The walk out of the hotel felt longer than it had any right to be. Every step away from the lounge felt like she was shedding something: comfort, safety, illusion. She didn't wait for a car. She wanted the cool air on her face. By the time she reached home, it was almost 10. Arjun was on the couch, half asleep with the TV still flickering. He stirred as she entered. "You're late. Work ran over." He nodded, unconcerned. "There's leftover pasta in the fridge." "Thanks." He drifted back to sleep as she stood there, watching him. Not with judgment, not even with anger. Just a quiet, growing distance. Maya turned off the lights and walked into the bedroom, her reflection catching in the hallway mirror. She paused, looking at herself, noticing the way her eyes looked darker, heavier, more awake than usual. She didn't know what she expected tonight. But it wasn't this. The office was unusually quiet the next morning. Or maybe Maya just felt more aware of the silence, of the rhythm of keystrokes, and the low hum of conversations that had once comforted her. She walked in as if nothing had changed. On the surface, nothing had. Her ID badge still clicked at the turnstile. Her desk was where it always was. Her inbox was full. But something beneath her skin pulsed differently now, like a frequency only she could hear. Mr. Sharma passed her once in the hallway, nodding politely, eyes unreadable. A professional distance re-established instantly. No messages. No awkward glances. Just the faintest trace of recognition in the way his shoulder turned slightly when they crossed. Priya appeared beside her desk minutes later, holding 2 coffees. "You disappeared fast last night," she said, handing Maya one. "Everything okay?" Maya nodded, forcing a smile.
"Yeah.
Just tired. It was a long day." Priya squinted, skeptical. "You seem off." "Just distracted," Maya murmured, sipping her coffee. She didn't elaborate. Truth was, she couldn't. Not yet. Maybe not ever. At lunch, Maya sat alone in the break room. The fork in her hand hovered above her salad, unmoving. Her mind kept drifting, not to the hotel or the drinks, but to the quiet afterward. The absence of guilt startled her. Instead, there was a strange calm, like something inside her had finally spoken after years of silence. That night, Arjun was home early. They sat across from each other at dinner, chewing in near silence. He scrolled through his phone in between bites. Maya watched him, trying to remember the last time they had talked, not about chores or bills, but about each other. "Do you ever think we've changed?" she asked suddenly. He looked up. "What do you mean?"
Us.
"Our marriage. Who we are now." Arjun blinked, as if the question was foreign. "I guess. Everyone changes." She waited for more, but none came. Maya set her fork down. "Do you still feel connected to me?" He shrugged. "You're here. I'm here. We're fine, aren't we?" It wasn't indifference. It was something worse, habit. Like 2 people sharing a roof out of convenience, not closeness. Later, in bed, Maya stared at the ceiling again. Her phone buzzed once, an email from HR, routine. She didn't check it. She thought about Mr. Sharma. Not about what didn't happen, but what almost did. The way it felt to be seen, to be chosen, even if only briefly. It wasn't love. Not even desire, really. It was the hunger to be acknowledged. For the first time in years, she felt something unfamiliar. Agency. The next day, Maya requested a meeting with Mr. Sharma. Not in a hotel, not in secrecy. In his office. Daylight. Glass walls. She wanted clarity, not seduction. When she stepped inside, he greeted her with a neutral smile.
"Maya."
"What can I do for you?" She sat, steady. "I want to be considered for the project lead position." He raised an eyebrow. "You're qualified, no doubt. But are you ready for the visibility?" "I am." He studied her for a long moment. Then he nodded. "All right. Let's begin the process." There were no apologies. No mentions of the hotel. No lingering glances. It was as if that night had folded into a quiet, unspoken contract. What happened, or almost happened, would remain in the shadows. What emerged instead was something more dangerous and more empowering: recognition. That evening, Maya walked past a reflection in a storefront window. She barely recognized herself, not because of her clothes or expression, but because of the stillness inside. She wasn't unraveling. She wasn't afraid. She was changing. Back home, Arjun greeted her with the usual half-smile. "How was work?" "Productive," she said, and walked past him, heading straight for the spare room, the one they used for storage. She opened the closet, pulled out a dusty canvas and a box of old paints. "What are you doing?" he called from the hallway. She paused, fingers tracing the edge of a brush. "I'm remembering something I forgot." He didn't respond. Maybe he didn't understand. That was okay. She sat on the floor, dipping the brush into blue. The first stroke was hesitant. The second, more certain. She didn't know what she was painting yet. But for the first time in years, it was hers.